December 13th, 2003. What would you do if you were ordered to crawl into a black, suffocating hole in the ground, knowing the man responsible for years of bloodshed, torture, and mass graves might be waiting inside, armed, desperate, and ready to die fighting? While nearby gunfire echoed through palm groves and medics were already working on wounded soldiers under fire. That was the terrifying reality at the climax of Operation Iron Hammer, the massive, grinding U.S. Army offensive that battered the Sunni Triangle in mid-December 2003 and directly set the conditions for the capture of Saddam Hussein. And this is not the clean cinematic version of events, but the real one, soaked in exhaustion, fear, and moral weight, where elite soldiers moved house to house through freezing nights, booby-trapped farms, and mud-choked irrigation canals while insurgent gunmen melted into darkness and civilians screamed as doors were kicked in, and where combat medics worked with shaking hands under red-lit headlamps trying to keep wounded men alive as mortar thumped in the distance. Because Iron Hammer was not a single dramatic raid, but days of relentless pressure beginning on December 12, 2003, when U.S. forces launched a coordinated sweep south of Tikrit involving the 4th Infantry Division, Special Operations Units, intelligence teams, and armored elements whose mission was brutally simple on paper, but terrifying in execution: break the remaining resistance networks, capture or kill high-value targets, and close the noose around Saddam Hussein, a man who had already survived months on the run, sleeping in farmhouses, hiding in drainage ditches, and moving constantly to avoid betrayal. And during those days, soldiers endured ambushes from tree lines, sudden bursts of AK fire from mud compounds, and the ever-present threat of improvised explosives buried in roads and footpaths, with one documented firefight erupting when U.S. troops raided a suspected safe house and insurgents opened fire at close range, wounding soldiers and forcing medics to crawl forward under sporadic gunfire to apply tourniquets and pressure dressings while bullets snapped overhead, blood soaking into the Iraqi dirt, the smell of cordite mixing with fear. And it was in this atmosphere of attrition and dread that intelligence finally narrowed Saddam's location to the Ad-Dor area near Tikrit, where he was believed to be hiding with the help of loyalists, prompting the final operation on December 13th. A methodical search involving two primary objectives, codenamed Wolverine 1 and Wolverine 2. And as troops closed in, tension spiked because no one knew if Saddam would surrender, detonate explosives, or attempt to fight his way out. A scenario that could have turned a capture mission into a bloodbath. And when soldiers searched the area, they encountered abandoned huts, hidden weapons caches, and the unsettling silence of farmland that felt watched, with dogs barking in the distance and the cold Iraqi night pressing in, until finally a small camouflaged hole partially concealed by bricks and debris was discovered, emitting a faint smell of damp earth and human presence, a moment so quiet it felt unreal, because this was the kind of hiding place nightmares are made of. And as soldiers prepared to investigate, weapons raised, a medic stood ready, knowing that the first man down that hole might not come back up alive. And when Saddam Hussein was ultimately pulled from that cramped, pitch-black spider hole, disoriented, filthy, and visibly aged, there was no triumphant music, only stunned silence and disbelief. Because the dictator who once commanded armies and ordered executions was found clutching a pistol but not firing it, choosing surrender over a last stand. And yet the horror of the war did not end there. Because even as news of his capture spread, insurgent attacks continued across Iraq, and Iron Hammer itself had already left scars on both sides, with Iraqi civilians traumatized by raids and U.S. soldiers carrying the invisible weight of what they had seen and done, including medics who could not forget the screams of wounded men or the lifeless eyes of those they could not save. And this is where the story becomes deeply human, because beyond the headlines of Saddam's capture, lies the truth that this victory was built on sleepless nights, frozen hands gripping rifles, whispered prayers before breaching doors, and moments of pure terror when everything went wrong. And even now the question lingers in the minds of those who were there, and those who study this war. Did the capture of one man truly change the course of the conflict? Or did it simply reveal how deep and horrifying the consequences of war really are? And knowing what you now know about Operation Iron Hammer and the night Saddam Hussein was found hiding underground, do you believe history remembers this moment for the right reasons? Or are there darker truths still buried in the sand waiting to be uncovered?